Part 2, Data Protection. What information about me or personal data will be used as part of this study, and will my medical records be accessed? Collection of personal information will be kept to an absolute minimum. Recorded information will include your name and surname, your email address and telephone number. This is considered identifiable data. However, it will undergo a process of pseudonymization that will require a key code known only to the researcher and her primary supervisor to unlock. Your medical records will not be accessed. What will happen to my personal data? Strict data protection arrangements are in place so that personal data will be processed only as necessary to achieve the objective of the study. Transcripts of your interview will be generated by a professional transcription service provider. However, your personal data will first be converted into pseudonymized format so that the identification of you by the transcriber will not be possible. Your personal data will not be transferred outside the European Economic Area, and so you will always be protected by the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. Your data will be stored in pseudonymized form for a maximum of 5 years, and if deemed suitable and appropriate, future anonymization of all datasets on a public repository will be in accordance with fair data principles under the guidance of the RCSI Data Steward. Who will access and use my personal data as part of the study? Personal data will only be accessed by the doctoral researcher and her primary supervisor. A third-party professional transcription service provider will create transcripts of the recorded conversations, but only after the transcripts have been pseudonymized to de-identify the speakers in the interviews, and a contract will be in place for this service. Will my personal data be kept confidential, and how will my data be kept safe? Confidentiality is very important in research studies, and we will have a number of safeguards in place to ensure that all of our conversations are confidential. Ireland is a small population, and while unlikely, it is possible that participants in a service might know that others are taking part in the study. For this reason, general ground rules will be established for running of the study, which will be outlined to all participants at the outset of each interview. It will be important to understand that all interviews are confidential, and details should not be rediscussed outside the interviews in ways that might identify individual contributors in the future. A Data Protection Impact Assessment, or DPIA, has been carried out, which indicates that the overall risk rating for this study is low. We hope to publish the results of the study in scientific journals. However, you will not be identifiable in any publication. We will anonymously acknowledge your help in this study in future publications. While we will take these many steps to make sure that we protect your confidentiality and keep your data safe, in the unlikely event of a data breach, you will be contacted by the research team directly and notified without delay, and the RCSI Data Protection Officer will contact the Data Protection Commission directly. What is the lawful basis to use my personal data? We will rely on Article 6.1f, Legitimate Interests, and Article 9.2j, Scientific Research Purposes, of the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, to process your personal data. What are my rights? You have the following rights regarding your personal data. You have the right to request access to your data and a copy of it. You have the right to restrict or object to processing of your data. You have the right to have any inaccurate information about you corrected or deleted. You have the right to have data about you deleted unless such a request would make it impossible or very difficult to conduct the research. For example, a request to delete data at the very end of a research project, just before it's due to be published. You have the right to data portability. This means that you have the right to move data from one data controller to another in a readable format, such as a printout. So, for example, you have the right to take a printed or electronic copy of your data from RCSI to another institute. Your data will not be subject to any decision based solely on automated decision-making tools or profiling. Automated decision-making tools do not require human involvement in decisions, while profiling is where certain aspects of personal data are automatically analysed based on algorithms, in a similar way to advertisements that are generated from previous clicks on the internet. You can exercise these rights by contacting the researcher, Deirdre McCartan, at 089 444 212 951, or the RCSI Data Protection Officer at dataprotection@rcsi.ie. And the website for the Irish Data Protection Commission is www.dataprotection.ie. And alternatively, the telephone numbers of the Data Protection Commission are 017650100 or 1800 437 737.